Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Make Me Whole podcast. I am your host, Josette Rosado, and today we are meeting with our lovely friend, Elisabeth Edwards. She is my person. If you ever watch Grey's Anatomy, Meredith has Christina. Izzy is my Christina. Izzy and I met, is it 10 years already?
Oh my gosh, it really might have. Oh
Oh
wow,
my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah, it's about
Mhm,
10 years now.
mhm.
When we both worked together, we just had some hard kids to work with. And
We
now
did,
we're
but
here
rewarding,
today. Yeah, it was
rewarding kids.
rewarding, definitely. I mean, we met some kiddos and had some experiences, but it's stuck ever since, and she's become my family, sister from another mister.
Mhm.
So here we are. Welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, Josette. But, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal. A leadership position is,
Whatever.
but that kind of brings us, if you want, what we should talk about. Um, I'd say is um, identity and finding identity, um, because, and that's I think kind of a theme of something that you and I have talked a lot about.
Mm.
um, because for a long time I had it in my head that like I could only find my identity in the church and in what I felt was like the black and white yes no answers for the church. And then you kind of called it probably 10 years ago when you said, is by the time you reach your 30s you're gonna figure that out. um, and
Did
now
say that.
I you did. um, and now I'm kind of in that figuring it out spot, and it's hard for me to like kind of claim anything as my like identity. Like, sure, I am a teacher. I have some minor leadership roles. I am a parent, a daughter, a sister, a friend, or whatever. But like, who am I really? That's like where we're at right now.
What does that feel like?
Um, on a good day, super messy.
Yeah.
On a bad day, like you just want to sleep at all times.
So
But no,
true.
just kidding. Um, but no, it feels like it's uncomfortable, like in this transition. It's a very, I think the word is liminal. It's like this liminal space where like I know that I'm not who I was before, but like who I am going forward in life, like who is that? And how do you take that step to like figure it out? It's
Hmm.
uncomfortable.
I just love that you reference our conversation from way back where I said, "Oh, wait till you get to your 30s. You're just
Mhm,
going to start weeding things out and it's actually happening."
mhm.
So, that's it's a really good guide to follow because you're really going to get to a point where you're just not going to give a shit what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm probably not even close to that yet. Although I try to be. I do try to like walk into some situations feeling that way.
Hmm.
But I definitely like people pleaser to a fault still. Um,
That's okay. We all have our badges.
yeah. Well, and I like when people feel good around me. I like to feel good. I like if I can have like a part in helping somebody else feel good or feel accomplished or get something off their to-do list, like I want to do that for
Hmm.
them. My problem is setting the boundaries so that it's not a detriment then to like my own to-do list, my own responsibilities and health and things like that.
Do you think a lot of people go through the same? Because you have a solid group of people your
I do.
generation, your age. So do you feel like people are struggling with the same?
I think so, yeah. Because I mean, I think in any I mean, if you want to just take like workplace situations, right? If you get like a group of like-minded people who want to like be your backup and like truly have that team setting, which we really do, um, at the school and the staff that I'm with right now, like everybody's just kind of aware of what everybody else is going to. And it's like, oh man, like I know she has a tough appointment coming up. I don't want to put this on her plate, so I'm going to take this. And then I know that they're going through this. I want to take that too, because you just know all that. But then I don't know, it doesn't really get you anywhere.
Yeah.
Trying to, I don't know, like save, I guess, everybody else. So I'm learning delegation at this point. I'm learning like what it means to truly use your community, and rely on others. Because I think like prior to this, it was very much, I don't know, I think that my definition of community was flawed, because I think that a lot of it came from my like background in church and small groups and things like that. And I was part of really good communities at times, but I was also part of very like surface level communities as well. And sometimes they were both at the same time, with different people and different situations. And I think that we're truly there for each other and want to take the loads off each other's backs, even if we're going through something personally or even if we're overwhelmed. It's like hard to trust in that.
Yeah. I mean, you can't work with people like me all the time.
It's true. I wish I could, though.
I wish I could work with people like you all the time too. That was a pretty neat group we had going on. Because I think what's important is that you have people who are gonna not only tell you, be completely honest, but also set limits within themselves and then set limits within the people they work with. So if everybody's trying to please everybody, yeah, it's never going to work.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you, as the lead there, step into a role of leading?
Well, it's lucky that all four of the people I'm really close with at work are all part of this team. So it's all people that I work very tightly with and who definitely know kind of my, I guess, my heart of the situation, whether or not I'm great at always expressing myself. Not always great at that, and what I need or what I want, definitely not always great at that. But because they know, I think my ultimate goal, like for our team or for us students, then we're able to kind of go from there.
Yeah.
So they definitely like pick up where I lack in leadership.
So what do you want differently? Like, I mean, I'm when I think of how I've known you, not how I know you because you're different than how I've known you. Remember, I used to be like, oh, Izzy loves Jesus, like, and we know you do. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that, you'd be like, okay, guys, like I'm turning red in different colors if we're talking about certain topics, or you'd be like, in church, I don't know how many times a week or small group, things like that. So keeping that mindset and knowing where you've been and where you are right now, what do you think you're looking for? I know,
That's a great
big question.
That's a great question, Joseph.
Thank you.
I think that I am ultimately still looking for like the same thing as I was back then. Which would be, I guess, answers. Still looking for answers. I'm still looking for and I guess like the truth. Yeah.
I think you have it in front of you. You're just not recognizing it, but I think you have it in front of you.
Probably.
Yeah. And it's not me. It's really what's in front of you. I think, you have a daughter who is amazing.
Perfection.
She is just like my kids are awesome. Like my kids are the best. But she is incredible. And I think she's been brought to you to show you truth. She'll tell you truth Whether you want
Oh
it or
gosh,
not, she'll let you know.
that
And
is,
so if you're
yeah.
seeking truth, just ask her.
She'll definitely tell you what her truth is
Oh,
in
yeah.
that situation. Yeah.
Almost definitely.
Um, yeah. I think that this has all led me to I don't like calling it like the deconstruction thing because that's kind of like a fad and I don't who knows if that's really what it is, but I've definitely like recently been thinking contemplating on how the uh how deconstructing got so popular recently with it feels like a lot of people, not just me, right? All of a sudden we're like, hey, this doesn't feel right. Um and how when I kind of like took away all of the questions and the stuff that made me feel not good, like it wasn't truly the truth, right? Took away all of that. Like how great would it have been if like my foundation there was like, oh, Jesus, he is the way, the truth, and the light. That's it. Done. Oh, that's a great foundation. Let's build that back up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like instead I like took away all that stuff that was like drilled into me and what was left was just this like foundation of like fear of like do this, act this way or else.
Right.
And it wasn't just like clean your room or else no dessert. It was like or else like say hello to the devil in hell. Like
Right.
peace out. Like that's and I think that that was like drilled into my head. I like to think unintentionally. I like to think that that wasn't like our youth pastor or like Bible study teachers, like that wasn't their purpose. And the lesson was like that. But that is definitely like my overshadowing foundation of religion. And then because my religion or like Christianity was like the basis of my identity, like my identity and everything kind of just went back to like do this or hell. um, and I like don't want to ever be a hypocrite, right? I have this like big fear of being a hypocrite that's been like forever. So growing up in purity culture, then it very much was like just, it's your job to keep yourself pure, to not let other people and blah, blah, blah. And then, so it was like, okay, well, um, if that's my job, and then we're supposed to be like telling people about Jesus, that means I have to tell people about this too, and like they better act a certain way because otherwise, like, listen, I was told by these people who I need to trust who only speak the truth, like you're gonna go to hell if you go to that party. It's gonna happen.
Right.
Um, and I mean that's like simplifying it a lot, but
No, but I think sometimes you have
yeah,
to simplify it because that's the easiest way for you to explain it, not only to other people who might want to understand it better, but how you explain it to yourself.
yeah. But I do in re-listening and listening to some of your like recent podcasts and stuff like that too, though, I've been like, man, um, setting boundaries is still hard for me now. But like how many times have I like been on the side of like I need to set a boundary and cut off that girl because she's crazy. Like or because she's like preaching this like hellfire damnation on
Yeah.
me, right? And like
Yeah.
and it definitely I'm as like my almost 35-year-old self, like I'm okay with overall how I've lived life and my decisions like have led me to like a pretty good marriage, a really cool kid. Like I truly love my job. I don't know if all teachers can say that these days and I really do. Um but like when I think back to how much pressure I felt to like make sure everybody else around me also wasn't going to like they were also okay and like doing these things like that that part like eats at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now knowing that it wasn't your responsibility.
Yeah, not only not my responsibility but like not always like founded in the biblical truth anyways. um,
Yeah.
has been hard.
I think it's a really personal journey, and I'm glad that it's yours to take. I know it's not
I'm not.
easy.
I'm not. Stop.
I
No.
remember like my grandmother used to be the one that used to go to church a lot when I
Mhm.
was really, really young. And I was like, this woman is not only in church, but like after church, she would stay for like prayer services. And I was like, what is she doing? Like, why are we praying more? Or she would go to church and she would like light candles. And there was like a lot of church stuff. And then she stopped. And I didn't understand why. And it wasn't until I was older that I was like, so like, why did you stop going to church? And
Mhm.
she's like, oh, honey, those stories about the priests, I just
Mm.
lost all my confidence. And this was like a woman who raised her kids in the Catholic Church, like worked with like ironing the vestments for priests. Like she was really a devout Catholic. And it wasn't that she didn't die like, saying I'm not a Catholic anymore. But I think what the message I received from my grandmother was man doesn't dictate her faith. Her faith had to become her own. So she stood up at night and prayed her rosary for everyone and everything, like hours. We were just like, how does this woman stay up for hours praying the rosary? Because she couldn't sleep. So I learned to be spiritual in that way. Like you don't have to be in a building. You don't have to, when I don't know if you've ever been to a Catholic mass, but it's
Mhm.
like stand up, sit down,
Yeah.
kneel, genuflect, do this, do that. So many like you have to do. And that's not what I believe faith needs to be. Your faith has to be in like, you woke up this morning.
Mhm.
That's a big deal. You know, you see the other side of 50. That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It is.
You get through a really bad illness. You get through trauma and can survive. You see miracles in your life. I think even like, not to simplify it, but like even being able to carry our children, things like
Mhm.
that. Those are the miracles in our lives that say like, "Woo, there is something bigger than me, and I need to put some respect on that, and that's what I need to follow through." Everything else is somebody else's playbook.
Yeah. I struggle with that because um if there is no playbook, in this case, in this the Bible, right? Then what is there? Then where am I getting my answers? Because you can't trust in all the pastors and all the preachers and all the like
Right.
you know what I mean? I can't always trust myself when I'm reading something to figure out where it came from and what translation and why is this one different from that and all that. Like so that's where my big struggle comes in.
Right.
Like when it comes in to that, because big picture, I love that. Like, yes, I like it was a miracle that I carried my child and that like that emergency C-section went great and that she came out healthy and beautiful and strong and all that kind of stuff. And then I like zoom in and I'm like, okay, but now where in the Bible does it tell me that? This is how I should now parent my kid and I need the rule books and all that.
There is no
Um,
rule book for
there's not.
parenting your child. No.
There's
And
not.
even now, I did it with my oldest. I'm doing it now with the youngest. And it's like, so you're going to catechism classes. Why?
Mhm.
Well, because, if you decide that this is the path you want to go, like you got to get some of these sacraments done. Why? Because it's a pain in the butt to do it later. Why? Well, just get it done. Why? I'm like, it's a small sacrifice, and let's learn a little bit about it, and then we can talk about it.
Mhm.
I mean, the looks that I get every Sunday that she goes, like, this is torture. This is the worst
Mhm.
thing you could do to me ever in life. But when it's done, it's done. And
Yeah.
honestly, whatever they decide to do afterward, I've done my job as far as, having them have their baptism, their communion, their confirmation, then we're done. I have followed through with the promises I made to my grandmother. They will get
Right.
those sacraments done. And it's also like more for me a traditional thing. Like we've got those things done. But am
Yeah.
I like making them sit in church every Sunday? No, I'm not. Do I go with them all the time? No, I don't. And that's my honest, because I'm really not a hypocrite when it comes in to the religion. Why? I did that. I always tell people I did my time. I went every Sunday. I would get up
Mm-hmm.
every Sunday, and it didn't matter how I was feeling. I had to go, and I couldn't sit with my friends and socialize like some of my friends were able to as a teenager. And I wasn't getting anything from it. So I know what that's like. I got the
Yeah.
same messages that you got. Don't do it. Don't do it, or you're going to go straight to hell. Don't do it
Mm-hmm.
because God is watching. You are being watched all the time.
Mm-hmm. And
And
I
I
just have,
took, yeah,
yeah, I'm just so afraid of disappointing people
yeah,
since birth, like that, um, that like hearing that and then like, no, like you know, maybe go to a party, but sure as heck wasn't gonna drink, wasn't gonna do stuff because like if like my parents found out, oh my gosh, I would just feel so guilty if I put that on them, right?
yeah,
But I remember like when my sisters and I like were all college age, or I guess my older sister would have graduated already, but and we would tell my mom randomly about like some like a party or like if we drank or something, and she'd be like, oh my gosh, like thank God, like I was worried about you guys, like you just never like. I was like, seriously,
you're like,
like I've been here trying to be perfect for you know 18 plus years so that I don't disappoint you, and here you're worried. You're worried because we weren't going out and like pushing buttons and meeting boys late at night and like all this kind of stuff.
yeah, no, I get it. I think for me, it was more like, it was sooner than that, obviously, because, all my friends were like doing stuff and hanging out. And I realized like no one was perfect. I found out people were going to clubs. Like my
Hmm.
elders were going to clubs,
Hmm.
smoking marijuana, getting pregnant early,
Yeah.
having boyfriends, drinking. I was like, hold on, hold on, hold on. All these Bible bumping people are like doing these things. Like, are you serious? So, what's wrong with me wanting to talk to a boy on the phone or hold somebody's hand or even kiss somebody? You
Hmm.
know, um, it was just a really weird time. It was a really weird time. And not to mention, and then, I don't want to even get into the whole like, let's have a sweet 16. For me, it was a sweet 16. It's like, let's
Yeah.
present you as this young lady into the world and you can have a boyfriend, but
Yeah.
so,
I don't know. It's hard to think about like that that frame of mind that I spent so much of life thus far in. That just like black and white. You just don't do it. Why? Because I was told not to.
mm-hmm,
And then like all of a sudden I'm an adult in my 20s and it's like, well, why are you still not doing it? Well, because I was told not to. Like, but when do you start thinking for yourself? Well, that's a great question. I don't know. You're supposed to trust these people, and I think that is kind of where my downfall was. in
mm-hmm,
in and then and I won't ever probably forget it, because the small group that I was a part of at the time, when stuff really started going south, they definitely got the brunt of like, because I went, I think, from like trying to go with the flow and just try to mean it when we did group prayer, or I mean, I can come up with the answers, I can read the book and answer the questions, right? Like I can do all that, but like when it came um down to it, it was, I think, a pretty quick change from like going with the flow to like anger.
yeah,
And they definitely got the anger the anger part of me, and some pretty angry rants and some stuff I'm probably not so proud of, specifically about the time that like Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I was
yeah,
like, like, this is the problem. We are the problem. Like, it's not like there are people like turning to like the Satanic Temple or the church, whatever one is, there's a difference between, but whatever. It's
Mhm.
neither here nor there. Like, and over, like Christians and like the love and whatever we're supposed to give. And I just kept seeing like people posting, like, there's no hate like Christian love, like no hate like Christian love. And I just like, and I'm like, you know, writing these stuff and I'm just like, y'all, and then I'm so over it because we're the problem. And I think that really what I was saying though, at the time was like, you are the problem, like you guys in this group, like it's not just we're the problem, like you're the problem. And why am I the only person seeing it? That like,
Yeah.
so there was
It's
just like, yeah,
hard.
there was
It's hard.
a lot of anger. And what we know is that like, you can't fix hate with hate and like the anger and like hatred and stuff that at that point was like very much overtaking me bit by bit. It was good when I walked it, stopped going and like
Yeah.
put distance there. It was good for them because they didn't need um me, doing that. Like, it wasn't their fault that
It's
I
hard to
like
see you struggle
was,
with that because you're so full of energy and light and love, and I feel like that's so hard to know that you went through that.
yeah. It was rough. Now, I will say that like out of that group of women, I'm pretty close with a few of them still. Ones who I enjoy talking to because we have very different opinions. Um, and we can talk about like some politics and who people should vote for. And I'm over here like screaming still, like, no, like you can't just vote Republican because that's how you've always done it. You also can't just vote Democrat because that's how you've always done it, right? Like, you have to look at what they're standing for. And we all have kids in public education. We really need to be making sure that we align, and we need to just know what's going on,
Yeah.
right? And then if you're like making a educated decision that this is who you need to vote for, then that's great. And we can have different opinions, but like, I don't know. It's
It's a lot.
it's been
Yeah.
good. It's been good because it has allowed me to continue to get like challenged in my views of thinking while still not feeling less than for thinking them.
Like
Hmm.
it'll get easier.
I mean, you've been right in the past, so you're
I
you're
try.
so
I
far so
am.
good. Your
I need
your advice has
t-shirts.
been
Listen,
pretty on
I'm a
point.
reformed people pleaser. Like I just
Yeah,
need t-shirts and I'll sell them,
I'll get there.
because I really am. And it's not an easy thing. And you look back and you go, shit, I spent so much time just making sure everybody else was okay.
Mhm.
And there's nothing wrong with that because, look where your stars align, It's an Aquarian thing.
Is that what it is? I don't know. It was in a conversation with one of my friends from that group, and she had gone through something similar yet completely different, right? To kind of, she basically like deconstructed and then was able to reconstruct in like, she's the most wise, amazing person I know. Um, and one day I was, probably ranting and raving about how can I bring my daughter to church, because I can't put her um in like kids ministry because I don't know what they're saying, and how do I know they're not telling her that she's this or that, or how do I know, how do I know?
Mm-hmm.
And my friend was like, okay, like, that is so true, you're correct. Have you thought about how people feel about putting their kids in public education these days? And I was like, stop it right now. Um, because that's like how, like, this narrative right now, right, is that like you don't know what these teachers are what agenda they're
Right.
trying to push, right?
Right.
Um, Now I will say for me, the only agenda I'm trying to push is teaching your kid how to read. Like I
Right.
just those CBC words, digraphs, blends, let's go. Um, there's no other time in my day. But like I have this like privilege of being able to just decide, no, I'm not going to take her to church. Um,
You do.
if we do religion, spirituality, whatever, we can do that within the house. We can do that with the friends that I trust and conversations with them and their kids. Um, but public education, I mean, it's public education. So like if you don't have the money to send to private school, like you have to send your kid to this place. Um, and and it has really given me a new perspective on a lot of what I read that's like anti public education these days, and like
Mhm.
that fear base in there.
Yeah.
Um, because all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like what do I say all the time? It's like you can't make your big decisions out of fear. No good decisions are made out of fear. And I only say it because my therapist has told me 8 million times you can't make your big decisions out of fear. Be where your feet are, make the decisions with what you know is true at
Right.
that moment, right? And how many times I've had to have that talk with her. Um, yeah, so it's just like, wow. So it's just like these just people who feel out of control, like they don't have that control. What are their kids learning? And when you're scared or when things are big and messy, then like you grab too much, right? And now all of a sudden, like everything is scary and messy. Like we can't talk about race at all,
Right.
because it might make somebody feel bad. Well, it might, and that's okay. Now let's talk about why that makes you feel bad, and let's move on, accept it, and then learn from it.
And know that you can control only what's happening in the four walls of your house. And
Exactly.
so when she goes into those kinds of lessons, she's going to come back and say, "What was that?" And you're going to
Hmm.
say, "Let's talk about it."
Yeah. And like if your kid comes home though and is like, we read a book today and it was about MLK because it's Black History Month. Okay. What did you get from the book?
Right.
And then if you as a parent uh do not want to talk about racial things or slavery or whatever, that's when you as a parent have the right to say, we don't really talk about that. Now, do I agree that that's the right thing to say? No.
No.
I think that you have to like face it head on.
Yeah.
But but that's okay. Um, I don't know. It's okay.
No, I think, it's just so many things that we've become so sensitive about, but everybody's entitled to feel how they need to feel. Just
Mm,
recognize that we can't control anything but our own reactions. That's it.
it's true.
And when it comes to our kids and what they do and what they're exposed to, pick your battles. Pick your battles, but know that they have an opinion too. I love it when um I get the questions like, okay, so like this is what I heard today in this class. I don't understand why. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, do you want the, abridged version or the unabridged version? Like I'll break it down for you. Well, what did you learn? What I learned in 1990, it was a long time ago compared to what I'm living in 2024. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So it is about just kind of making it work and making it make sense, because when we were learning it, it was about fear. It was about abstinence. It was about,
Hmm.
to walk the right path or face persecution, face living hell, face, all kinds of things. So you just want to make sure that you're giving the right messages.
Yeah. But like how I think that that's what gets me then is like when I draw like the parallels between my like current life crisis of who am I and what is religion and what is this life that I'm living, right? And then I look at the parallels between like how it applies to education and what's going on and banning books and like all this stuff, right? Is like being like you can't reference LGBTQ, you can't like all this kind of stuff, right? Um, it's all like again being that foundation in fear. And what have I learned like the very hard way in the last 5 to 10 years is that like a foundation built out of fear is going to topple, and when it topples it hurts
Yeah.
everybody around you,
Yeah.
and it really hurts as you're building it up too. It hurts a lot of
Yeah.
people around you like
Especially when it
there's
starts
this
toppling, girl. Like once it
yeah.
starts toppling, you're like, and people pleasers then try to stop the topple and
Mhm.
struggle with that too. So it's like, I
Mhm.
know it's falling down. I know it's going to fall, but I'm going to try to pick up the pieces anyway.
Mhm.
And that makes it worse. So let it fall and start building again,
Yeah.
but from a different place, especially
I
when
just,
that's not fear.
I just don't know how that's going to work these days in the big picture of
Gotcha.
public education. For myself, it is doing things like talking to you about it when other people can hear me, which is not what I would say my favorite thing is.
Got I got
But
you. But remember what I said, like you're eventually going to get to a place where you're not going to give a shit what other people have to say. And I say that lovingly to you. I say that lovingly to my audience. Like not that you don't give a shit in a hurtful way where you would destroy someone or you'd wish someone something negative. It's
right.
more like I have to live within myself.
Mhm.
And I have to live within my four walls, and everything that's protected under those four walls relies on me to be well, mind, body, and spirit. And if I'm not good, nothing else is good. So
Yeah.
I don't care what the outside forces want to bring in as their narrative. I need to be okay with me first, and then I'll come out and see if I can help you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mhm. It does. It does. And I do
And
hope
if
to
you're not
someday
and
be
if you're
there.
not there, that's okay. But I
Yeah.
promise you there will come a time where you will say like, yeah, no, that's not part of my conversation and my thought process today. So I'm just going to move forward. And when it comes to like things of, like, I know for myself, when I've ever had in the last, I guess, in the last 10 years, if I've had any kinds of religious crisis in any way, I have found people like one Tisha Brown who I
Mm.
can sit and have like a long conversation with and say, all right, girl, what's God telling you?
Right. And then
And
she'll know too.
she'll know.
She'll know. It's true.
And it's just and for me that's faith, because I'm
Mhm.
not putting my faith in the person, I'm putting faith in the message. So yeah, there's books and there's guidelines that we've been taught to follow, but then we have to close the book because we've read it about 17,000 times and
Cover
start
to
listening
cover.
for the messages.
Mhm.
But that's just my older wisdom coming in on you, girl.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I don't know. Like I said, in this liminal space of figuring out like who am I really and what do I really think? Because I do. I mean, I obviously really I'm not ready to just be like Christianity is whack and I have no want to be a part of it. I'm like
No, not at all.
I'm more like American evangelical Christianity is kind of whack and I need to figure out what part of it is the part that's bothering me,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's okay. I love that you are putting those questions in your head, because no matter what side of it you come out on, we know that you'll find your path. And then it'll be a path that you'll walk on and your daughter will walk on, and you'll have a good perspective for somebody who's going to be struggling just like you have.
I think it'll be interesting like 10 years from now when I maybe actually listen to this because there's no way I'm listening to myself now. But it'll be interesting to listen back 10 years from now and hopefully be like, got it. Look
Like,
at that poor girl who was
damn,
so
did we
confused all the
sin?
time.
Right, exactly. You'd be
Look
like,
at that.
damn, was
I
that me? Yeah.
that was me. I was so confused. Look at me now. I am still confused, but not about that.
I
Life
love
is
it.
all about learning, right?
It actually is. It actually is. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming in and just opening up and sharing this part of you. I know it's an important one, and I love you for it.
I
Yeah.
love you.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening today. And I guess, if you have any questions about this or you want to talk more, leave us comments in the description or in our commentary. We love you hearing our episodes and being here today. Hope you'll come back for the next one, and I will see you guys on the next episode. Take care.